guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Whitney, and today I'm going to be sharing my top 5 books that I've read so far in 2023. It's kind of hard to wrap my brain around the fact that the year is half over, but here we are. So I'm going to give you my top 5 books, and I'm going to go from my least most favorite to my most favorite. We'll start at 5 and work our way up to 1. So let's jump right into it. Number 5 on the list is actually the very first book I read in 2023, and that was The Blue Castle by L.M. Montgomery. This is the first L.M. Montgomery book that I've read that was not related to Anne, and I really enjoyed it. I love L.M. Montgomery's writing anyway. She just has a way of painting a picture that makes it so fun to read. Okay, so The Blue Castle is about Valancy and her life in a very strict family. She's got an overbearing mother, and she goes to the doctor and she gets some really bad news. And so because she gets this bad news, she decides that she's going to live life on her own terms, and she moves out of her house, and of course her life unfolds the way that she wants it to, and it's just a really lovely book, and I really enjoyed my time reading it. So number 4 on the list is My Diary from the Edge of the World, and this is a middle grade fantasy. It's a light fantasy. It's just kind of more like magical realism kind of, but I loved this book so much. I was not expecting this. I picked this up because Savannah Grace wanted me to read it because she loves it, and I really enjoyed this. This is about a family who lives in like a parallel universe, and so in the universe that they're living in mirrors our world, but it has, dragons and mythical creatures and all of these things. Well, there's also this cloud that hovers when someone is about to pass away. And so one day they wake up and there's a cloud hovering near their house. And her little brother is always sick, and they just know that this cloud is coming for her little brother. So her family sells everything. They hop in a Winnebago and they start their adventure to the edge of the world, because there's a theory that at the edge of the world, the two parallel universes meet. And if they can get to the other universe, everything will be fine. The black cloud can't follow them, and her brother and their son will be fine. And so it's the story of a family on an adventure, but also each of them are dealing with this grief in their own way. And it was just so good. I really was surprised by this, and it was just a really beautiful book. And I'm so glad that Savannah Grace prompted me to pick this up. Okay, number 3 on the list is Tress of the Emerald Sea, and this was Brandon Sanderson's secret project number 1 for this year, and I loved this so much. So the premise is, he wrote this for his wife, and they were watching The Princess Bride, and they kind of wondered, they love The Princess Bride, but what if the princess rescued herself? Like, what if she didn't just wait around to be rescued? How would this story look? And so that was kind of his jumping off point. So anyway, it's just whimsical, and I loved the way that he wrote these characters. So Tress lives on an island, and she is perfectly content to never leave her island. She has the boy that she loves is there, her family is there. But one day the boy has to leave, and it's an island, so she's surrounded by an ocean, but the ocean has no water. It's made of another substance, so she can't leave. Well, the boy never comes back, and she knows that something is wrong, so she sets out to rescue him. And so the people that she meets aboard the ship that she takes are great. Her adventures are wonderful. The resilience that she has and that she shows in going after what she wants was wonderful. I was so pleased with this secret project. I recommend this to anybody who loves a good fairy tale. So number 2 on the list is Grandma Gatewood's Walk, and I don't have it with me right now. I lent it out to a friend, but I loved this story so much. It's a non-fiction book about Grandma Gatewood and her hiking of the Appalachian Trail, and my family loves hiking and we love adventuring, and so I really like to read books about hiking or, adventuring that way in general. And I loved this story. She had a really rough life, and she decides that she's going to hike the Appalachian Trail, and she's not a young a young woman when she hikes this. She is an older lady. She's a grandmother. She doesn't have special hiking gear. She doesn't have special hiking shoes. I think she walked in Keds and had like a walking stick. And she did it. She didn't even tell her family that she was going to do it, but she walked from the bottom of the Appalachian Trail to the top in one go. Today that's difficult, but when she did it, it was a little bit longer. The trails were not marked as well as they are now, and it was a lot more difficult. And I just loved the story of her walk. And I didn't think that I would love it as much as I did, but I don't know. This old lady just hiking because she felt like it just really, really appealed to me for some reason. So the best book I've read this year has to be Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. I know there are 2 Sanderson books on this list, but I can't help it. It just is what it is. This is the second book in his Stormlight archive, and oh my goodness, this was so good. I loved everything about this book. The character development, Kaladin's story. I just love Kaladin so much. He is, I don't know, I think he's one of my favorite characters, maybe of all time. And Shallan, really, she was annoying to me in the first part, but her story, like the first book, but her story really developed, and I can see why people like her. I still don't really care for her, but I could see why people like her, and I just love this book. So it took me a while to get into the first book, The Way of Kings, just because it's such a large book, and it's got a lot of characters, and it's building this massive world. That was not the case with Words of Radiance. Words of Radiance, I was able to jump right into the story, connect with the characters. I love the interludes in this one as well. Sometimes in The Way of Kings, I found the interludes to be like, okay, let's get back to the real story, but in this one, I loved them as well. I don't know, I feel like this is peak Brandon Sanderson. I don't know. I haven't read his other 2 in the Stormlight archive. They may be even better, but for me, this has been the best book I've read this year, and I can't wait to continue on with this series. Okay, so there you have it. Those are the top 5 books that I have read this year. 3 out of the 5 are fantasy, and the other 2, one is a classic and one is a nonfiction. So not as diverse as I was expecting when I was going through the books and looking back over everything I've read, but that's okay. It's fine. Hopefully I'll have a little bit more diversity in the second half of the year, but if not, if I'm still reading great books, it'll be fine. But anyway, I would love to know in the comments, what have you loved this year? What are your favorite books so far of 2023? So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.